Well, hi. All right, first with bad news. You're not crazy. Actually, I'm not a doctor. I'm not qualified to make that diagnosis. You're not imagining it. Things are really, really bad right now. The absolute contempt coming from the legislature this year just completely blew my mind. I have for years been concerned about the direction, but I always believed that the GOP would come back to its founding principles. Amendment D completely made it clear that that is not going to happen. But there is good news. Tyranny is not the natural state of man. We were born to exercise agency. We exist to be free beings. We exist to love one another, to strengthen each other, to build community, or we wouldn't be here. So who's ever seen a movie? Any movie, ever? Who's ever read a book? What happens when tyranny takes over? You find heroes. Heroes don't rise to fight when things are good. Heroes rise to fight when things are bad. Who has seen heroes in the last few years? And we're just going to get more. So let's start at the beginning. Since I left the GOP in March, I have had so many people say, why did you change your principles? And I feel like I have to keep repeating myself. I have never changed my principles. The core belief that I hold is that all men are created equal and endowed by their Creator with inalienable rights. People have natural rights as an extension of being human. You have a right to life and to liberty, to pursue happiness. And any government that infringes on those rights without due process is creating an unnatural state of tyranny. Look, for me, it comes down to this: rights, reason. Michelle brilliantly talked about how when you use data and evidence-based practices, when you have a good process, Utah became one of the first states in the nation to actually decrease our incarceration rate. We started saving money for the taxpayers while giving more humane treatment to people who could stay with their families. We were setting an example for the rest of the nation. That's all been undone. We pioneered mental health care. That is being unwound as we speak. Respectful dialogue is vanishing as we speak. So because I believe that the GOP has ceased to uphold the rule of law, because they are no longer grounded to the Constitution, and because they're not even following their own platform, which was why I joined them in the first place, they are no longer entitled to my support. My commitment is not to a party or any individual. No cults of personality for me, thank you. My commitment is to principles. Parties, personalities, frankly, even policies must change when new evidence becomes available, when better practices become found. So all of them are necessarily transitory. So if we want to get our ship on course, we must set by an immutable, immovable North Star. And for me, that is principle. Principles don't move. So I found a party that resonates with my core beliefs. I found a party that respects my principles of rights, of reason, and of respect. In short, if we boiled together everything I heard from Michelle and everything I just said, I think we could boil everything down to one word: representation. You have a constitutional right in a republic to have a meaningful say in who represents you, and to have them, look, you can't be obedient when you represent 140,000 people, but you can be accountable. Who feels right now like their representatives and their legislators are accountable to them? Yeah, I didn't think I'd see a lot of hands. Unless you're in my district, please raise your hand. Come on, you guys. I'm working my tail off up here. I found a party committed to my core principles: the inalienable rights of all, that reason should guide policy, and that respect and decency are non-negotiables. I am done being mired in crazy making, to use a term from my mother. No more crazy making. I'm moving forward. So should you join forward? Look, right now our caucus system is a mess, but it is the de facto election for the vast majority of races in the state of Utah. So I have not been pushing people to leave the party. I actually respect the work being done by the Reagan caucus, trying to get people to vote in Republican primaries for people who are still principled, to people that today's GOP would call rhinos. How many of you have ever been called a rhino or a dino, or those who have been third party all along? You guys just get ignored, right? Because your votes largely are irrelevant because the de facto election is the primary. So until such time as all voters are treated equally under the law, I believe we probably have a winning lawsuit here. If somebody knew a good attorney and we could get funding for it, we could probably prove in a court of law that the caucus system creates unequal protection under the law and denies constitutional rights to representation. But I digress. Let me get back on topic. Should you leave a party that you belong to and join the Forward Party? I can't answer that question for you, but I can answer it for me. The Forward Party is different from anything I've ever seen before. It is why I feel so at home in this place that feels clean. I feel safe in this room. I feel respected in this room. I feel like I can disagree with someone and not have any name calling or tables flipping. I love that we are not locked into, you must believe this policy to belong. You must pass a litmus test, a purity test, or you can't be in our party. I love that we are committed to principle, because as Michelle said, those principles will lead to good policy. I value insight and experiences and the opinions of others. I do. I like to say, I don't care if I'm right at the beginning of a conversation, as long as I'm right at the end. So if you can show me the flaw in my logic, you have actually done me a tremendous service. Maybe the most tremendous service. So I don't want to fight Republicans or Democrats. I want to fight ignorance and contempt. I want to fight for people, for decency, for representation. So is it right? Well, I'll just say, it is so freeing to stop saying we as I talk about the completely crazy things that the party is doing to people. But moreover, it feels so good to say we as I talk about the crazy things the Forward Party is doing for people. Look, should you join? I don't know. Here's what I do. I ask my heart, I ask my gut, and I ask my brain. And we have a vote. And majority wins. And for me, it was unanimous. Because I am proud to belong to the Forward Party. And I know that I'm not alone. Right? So is it right for you to join? I don't know. But it was right for me. And I couldn't be happier to be here. You know, I know I've got a little bit more time, but the world won't end if you don't take all your time talking. So let me just close with this. Michelle, I am so excited to be working with you again. I think the world of Michelle Quist. If you haven't worked with her, she is brilliant, but more than that, she is principled and she is fearless. And I cannot wait to see what we are going to do with her leadership. So thank you. Declan, thank you for building a party for people that are principled. Thank you for building a party where people can feel good about what their team is doing and not have to make excuses or contort their conscience to justify the indefensible. Thank you for building this party so that we can all move forward.